Good afternoon, guys. MWUSA Season 4, Episode 23. We got some catching up to do here. I did do some updates on my charts, closed out January, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but they were not good. Blackjack, I believe, was minus 5,400, 4,900, somewhere in there. Slots were plus 8,800. Miscellaneous that I do plus 4,000, and another, the credit cards plus like 3,500. Anyway, the way it worked out, I was, if you include everything, I was plus like 12,500 or 12,800 for the month. So definitely have some work to do. I'm about $8,000 behind on my goals, so a little bit frustrating, but we'll get it back. Not that we'll get it back. We're not down, but, we'll catch up. So, it is Sunday afternoon. I'm leaving a little bit late. This morning, we were getting ready for church, and one of my kids wasn't feeling well. So I stayed home with her. She had like a 101.8 fever. Gave her some medicine. It got her back down to normal. And, medicine should have worn off by now. She seems to be okay. We did set up an appointment with the urgent care for tonight, so my wife will be taking her to that. So hopefully everything's good there. Most likely some kind of sore throat, one of those things that it could be with a sore throat, so strep or something like that. So hopefully she feels better, but we need to get her on antibiotics if that's what's needed. So other than that, just been doing the same. Lots of nickel and diming, making 50 here, 100 there. I had an opportunity to do a purchase, but prices are so out of whack right now that I'm not going to do it, because right now I would break even on it. So I'll let prices normalize again. I did send out my last shipment that I have. We'll be making a little bit of money on that one. That will go on February, though. Other than that, that's really what's going on right now. Some of the kids wanted to go to an arcade today, and we've been putting it off for a little while, so I did take a few of them with me. And I have to say, things have changed. With shopping malls going downhill, now they're putting all these arcades in the malls. And it's so expensive. You can buy $10, $20, $50, $100, $200, and it basically comes out to like 1 point is 25 cents, and a basic game is going to be 4 to 8 points. So you can imagine that's only like 25 games, and if you want like one of the bigger rides, they can be $7 or more for those things. So 50 or 100 or even 200 if you have 4 or 5 kids can go pretty quickly. Not really my thing, but they do have one place in town, maybe two, that's a free arcade. It has all the old games, and it's a bar. Anyone's allowed in there, and you can play games for free, and basically you buy drinks while you're playing, and you play all these games for free. It's kind of cool. I like that. I don't mind paying for a drink if I'm going to get the games for free. So anyway, I'm feeling a little under the weather myself, feeling a little bit groggy. I took a couple Advil before I left home, so hopefully I feel a little better in an hour or so. But right now we're heading out to our first casino. We're going to be playing slots. You know what? Shoot. I was actually not going to go this direction today. Let me think things through here. I'll be back. Alright guys, I'm back. So, I was going to go to a different area tonight, but I'm going to just continue on to where I'm going. I was going to go to a different area for more possibility of more blackjack play and bigger plays. But me feeling not great right now. This one actually has more casinos and more opportunities to turn back if I'm not feeling well. So I think I'm going to head in this direction after all. We'll probably make a little bit less money this way, but you never know. There are some big opportunities here too. So we'll see what happens with that. I did work a little bit on my taxes yesterday. Still putting W-2s and stuff in the system. I think technically I can group all the W-2s into one, like each casino, and add up all the amounts together, but I'm not positive about that, so I'm actually entering every W-2 in individually, and I've gotten to about March or April in 2 days of doing that. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. I'm gonna continue my trip this direction. After all, it's 45 degrees outside, and I'll be back to update you soon. All right, guys, I am back. So I'm recording this about half an hour after I left that last casino because I was involved with some other stuff online and just finished that up and ended that. I had like 45, something like that, plus 545. I've been working on something all day and finally finished it up just now, so that was good. I go into the first casino of the day and start looking around and look around the corner, and one of my buddies is there, and talked to him for a while. We walked around and talked and looked at machines and stuff, and I couldn't find anything, and he told me that there was a lot of people in there, and so I was resigned to giving up and leaving. And I swiped my card and I had a $50 free play, and I'm on my way out and I saw a borderline play. It was about $4 a spin. I said, all right, I'm gonna play it. So I played the $50 in free play and kept going, and I ended up down 104 for the day when I was up like whatever, $20-30 when I went to that machine. No, I was up like $2, and then I ended up down like 104. And then we walked around and talked a lot, and we ended up splitting a play. Actually, I was down more than that. It was like 180. We ended up splitting a play because we both would check it, and we were walking together, so I thought it made sense to split it. And the first part of it ended up okay, made a few bucks on it, and the second one took us down a deep rabbit hole, and I started feeling bad because I didn't want to involve this guy in this and have him lose money, you know, because I was nice enough to split it, so now he's losing money, so I felt a little bit guilty about that, but luckily I ended up paying okay. We ended up ahead on it, and we made like 60-something dollars each, so we made like 130-something, 136, whatever it was, 176, I believe we made on it. So with that, I was down 104. And then there were some machines that were busy the whole time I was there, and he mentioned, hey, look, it looks like those cleared up. We ran over there, we checked those. There was 3 of them. I made a play on 2 of them and got back like 20 bucks. And then as we were leaving for the 5th time, we were getting ready to leave, I saw this game that someone was playing earlier, and it was in a position earlier, but now it wasn't. And he asked me how it worked because he'd seen it but didn't fully understand it. So, like a really not very smart guy, I ended up saying, here, let me show you. Because it usually hits something small pretty quick, and it didn't. It took me down another rabbit hole, $300 more, and finally ended up with a couple nice payouts at the end. And I ended my session behind. Minus $142. So minus $142 there, and we're moving on to another casino, and hopefully things will get better. It's dark already, so it's going to be a long one here, folks. Sit back and relax. 46 degrees outside. I didn't even bring a coat with me. It's so nice out there. So I'll be back to update you soon. All right, guys, I am back. What a wild ride that was. Started looking around and immediately saw the same cast of characters as always. Came around halfway through the casino. I still hadn't found a play yet. Finally, I found one play on a game that they don't like to play, and played that through, and I was ahead $173 right away. Moved on to another one, found another one that was pretty good play, not the best, on a high variance machine, and got slaughtered on that one. After that, I went from being up 173 to being down like 620. So that was terrible. Moved on to another area, similar game, and they like the game that I played, but they don't like the other game that I just went to, and got back like $500 on that one in a few minutes. And then played a couple other things. One way back in the back corner, and it was just very warm, very smoky. Machines were broken, stuff like that. But played back there, and by the time I was done there, I was ready to leave. I was down $97, and I decided to make one more play, which was a little bit iffy, but I played that one through. And after that one was done, I ended up leaving the session down $173. So far, not so good. 0 for 2 today. We're moving on to another casino, and hopefully things are a little bit better there. Hoping to make something, $500, $700 back there, and try to make this day a little bit better. So that's what's going on right now. I can't stress to you how terrible it felt playing that play and losing all that money on it when it was an okay play. It wasn't the best play, but it was okay. It was about $5 a spin, and when you're going $5 a spin, 20 spins is $100. It doesn't take long to be down $500 or $600. So anyway, we're moving on, and I'll be back to report. All right, guys, I am back. So I may put something in the title of this episode that has to do with something like meeting a lady who never heard of Jesus, because I just ran into somebody like that. But anyway, let's talk about other stuff first. Walk into this place, and I don't really look at slots because don't really find any here. By the way, I just saw a guy here that was at the last casino I was at, so he's making his rounds. Anyway, walk in and looking for a blackjack table. There are only 2 tables with good rules. So the first one's got one person on it. He just started the shoe. It's no mid-shoe entry. The other one has no one on it. I go sit down. I put my money out, and 2 guys come in. They sit at the table, and they bring out these big wads of 10s and 20s, just stacks of 10s and 20s, and they throw it at the table. Then another guy comes to the table, and he puts out like $1,000 on the table. I'm like, okay. So I'm watching this dealer. She's like, luckily she said she was going to do theirs first for some reason, even though I was there first. But all those 10s and 20s. So I just decided I'm not going to play. So I walk away from the table. I make one lap of the casino, look at the slots. I find nothing. I come back around, and the other table was empty again. So I sit down there, and I'm like, that's really weird, because the guy who was there had just sat down. He just bought in, and it was like the first hand of the shoe. Well, the dealer tells me that on the first hand of the shoe, 7 aces came out between the player and the dealer hand. The dealer had 5 aces as part of his hand, and the player decided he didn't want to play the table, so he left. So when I walked back around, the table was still empty, and those guys were still counting money. I'm talking like 7 or 8 minutes later, 10 minutes later, they're still counting money. So I sit down, I buy in for $500. And this dealer, you could tell he's one of these scumbag dealers that's going to ask you for money. Because later on, when a girl came to the table and she got a blackjack, he said, do you need some red? What does she need red for? She bet $50 and got a blackjack. Why does she need red? Explain to me why she would need red. What is her need for that? Her need for that is you want her to give you a tip, which he was successful at extracting the money from her. Anyway, I sit down, I start playing. I play the first shoe by myself, and it was a bust. It was a terrible shoe. I lost. I was down min betting. I was down as much as 800 and came back to almost even and then ended the shoe down 500. I'm like, it's not going well, but it's not that bad of variance. So she comes to the table, and she has like these weird hand gestures. Like she's got these really short fingers, and she like the motions that she does are not natural for hitting and staying and stuff. It's like she's never played before and doesn't know how to do it, and she's like exaggerating every movement. And then when she's tipping the dealer, she like puts it on the table and like flicks it to him, and it doesn't get there. Flicks it again. It's like, it was very strange. So and then her boyfriend comes over. He's sitting next to her, and then he eventually leaves, and it's just the two of us playing for a while. We play that shoe through, and by the end of that shoe, I'm down like 300. Next shoe, another guy comes to the table, and he just says, just save a spot for me, and he leaves. And then when the next shoe started, the dealer didn't want to start without the guy. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, he's not even here. Well, I'm going to give him a minute. So I gave him a minute. The guy comes to the table, buys in for a 500, and then rebuys for 500, busts out and leaves before the first quarter of the shoe goes by. So, so then it's just me and her again for the rest of that shoe. Hold on a second. So there's a guy asking me for advice on a machine that he's at. So, and he's a listener. Love you, buddy. $30 a spin at a casino I was at 2 Wednesdays ago, actually. And he's asking me if it's a play at that level, and I'm telling him that it's not a play, but at $30 a spin, that's going to get expensive. Anyway, so by the end of that shoe, I've got $500, so I'm down 500. Nowhere close to, okay. He's only got $2,000 on him, and it's just not enough to play that. Anyway, so at the end of that shoe, I've got $500, and it's taking forever to start the next shoe. So I end up leaving and going to the other table, which now those guys are gone. So I go over there with the 500, and I start that shoe, and I think I got 7 double downs in 3 shoes, which is not that many. 7 double downs in 3 shoes, and lost every one, and lost them in like ugly. I mean, it's like I end up with a 13, 14, or 15. The only time that I got a 10 on a double down was when I had an ace 5, and then I got a 10. The rest of the times I have 11, I'd get an ace 2, 3, or 4. And I lost every one of them. And they were all 200 or higher double downs. So, anyway, when I go to that table, I get all these double downs I'm losing. So I lose that 500. And I rebuy for 500 more. Now I'm in for 1,500. The count starts going up right before that. So I ask for black chips. So if I was playing with green chips before, 1 to 10, now I'm going to black chips. It makes a lot more sense if I'm going to bet $200, $300, or $400 that I'm going to bet 2 black chips, 3 black chips instead of a stack of green. It's just less visible, and when surveillance is looking and they're seeing 1 chip on the table or 2 chips on the table in the circle, they're not going to really think about it too much. When they see a stack of chips, they're going to say, hey, there's a stack right there. Let's watch this guy for a minute. So I end up losing that 500 and rebuying for another 500, getting down to my last couple hundred, and then things started turning around a little bit, and I ended a shoe with like 1,200. No, it was like 800. Guy comes to the table who was one of the guys who had bought in for all that small time change, and he buys in for 500. He buys in for 1,000. No, yeah, 1,000, and loses that pretty quickly. He bets like 250, then 400, and then the rest of it, and lost it all. And then he rebuys for 2,500. That got the attention of the pit boss. So now the pit boss is standing there, and luckily for me, the counts are still good, so I'm still betting my black chips. The new shoe started. I started with one black chip. The count went up. I stayed at one black chip. It continued to go up, and then I started to raise from there. So I never went back down to the green chips again. So it looked like it was normal, like no big deal. So until the very end, anyway. So he buys in for that money, and he and I are just killing it from there. Now, what happened was the count went up to like a running 15 with like four decks to go in the shoe. So, I mean, you're talking about basically a true 4. And so I'm raising, and he's betting huge, and he's winning and betting more. Not because he's counting, but because he's winning, he's betting more, and winning and betting more, and blackjack and betting more. And so this got the dealer's attention. And we got about 2/3 of the way through that shoe, and it went negative, and I decided to get up. And at that point, I'd gone from being down like 1,800 to being up a couple hundred. But with it being negative, I was going to have to drop back down to green. And it didn't make sense that I just won like 6 or 7 hands in a row, and then I lowered my bet to green, if that makes sense. So I decided to walk away, and he's like, "Hey, you're leaving? What's going on? I can't believe you're leaving." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm too scared. I don't want to give it back." And so when, okay, we'll step back a minute here. Before he came to the table, another guy came to the table briefly. He bought in for 2,500. And he was going to bet big, but then he saw the table across from me was open. It was a $100 table, so he asked him for all $500 chips, and he went over to that table instead. But his friend came to my table. He bought it for 400 and colored up for 600. But when they were standing there, when the one guy that went to the other table was buying in for the $500 chips, he had a cross, a gold cross that he was wearing, and I complimented him. And the dealer is an Asian lady, and she goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Oh, I was just telling him that I liked his cross. I'm going to have one made pretty soon, and I'm just waiting for it to be ready." And she's like, "Oh, but what does that mean?" And I said, "Oh, the cross?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "That's a symbol of Christianity. That's Jesus." And the guy said that he was Catholic. I said, "Yeah, Catholics usually wear the cross with Jesus on it, the crucifix, and non-Catholics usually wear the one without Jesus on it." And she's like, "But I don't understand. Is that like to predict the future?" And I'm like, "No, it's our religion. It's Christianity." And she didn't get it. She made a couple other inquiries from me on it, and I was just blown away that in this world that there are still that many people that haven't been reached, even in the United States, in the Midwest, and there are people who have never heard of Christianity. That is so unbelievable to me. People are going out to all these other countries to spread the word, and we have people here who still haven't even heard it. So I thought that was pretty crazy. So I ended up looking for slots again on my way out, and didn't see anything, and ended up just leaving ahead 200, which really made me feel terrible to only leave with that, with all the ups and downs. And I was at that table for a good hour and 20 minutes between the two tables. So probably a little bit more than that. But anyway, ended up leaving ahead 200, and right now it's time to move on to our next casino, and hopefully we pick up some more money here, hopefully a little bit more money this time, and I'll be back to update you. Alright guys, I am back. We got more of the same today. Went in there looking around, didn't really see much. Finally found a machine that had a play on it, played that through, and was down slightly, like not slightly, about $200 or so. Went and played another machine and played that one through and made a little money back. And I ended the session minus 123. So losing session on 3 of the 4 stops today. Definitely not very happy about that. Still have a few more stops to make, and just wondering when things are going to turn around. It's been a tough 30 days. Hopefully things turn around, but we're being patient, and everything should be all right, we hope. I wanted to mention one hand that happened when I was playing blackjack that I thought was interesting, and I meant to talk about it earlier, but I forgot to talk about it earlier. So this is had a true 3. So obviously there's and about halfway through the shoe, so it's probably like a running 9, 10, somewhere in there. And I get dealt 2 2s against an 8. So 2 and a 2 against an 8. I hit it, I get a third 2. I hit it, I get a fourth 2, so now I have 8 total against an 8. I hit it, I get a 3, so now I have an 11, so now I'm feeling better. Now remember, I've got like a running plus 10 here, and now it's going to like 15. So I have an 11, I hit it, I get a 4. I'm like, this is not good. Now I have a 15 with a running 16, 17 count. So now we're up to like a true 5. I hit it, and I get a 4. So now I have a 19 against an 8, and the dealer luckily turns over a 10, and I win the hand. But I thought that was very interesting that it was already a high count, and then we got whatever that was, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in a row that were small cards, and luckily the dealer had a face card underneath, and we were able to win that hand. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that hand. Continuing on here to the next casino and hoping for some better stuff to happen. I'll be back. Alright guys, I am back, and I need to get some fuel soon. I stopped at the next casino and found people basically camping out behind people who were playing machines that were beatable, and I knew there wouldn't be much here, but there was one play. Only one? Yeah, I only played one play. It's a machine that I wouldn't think that a lot of people would know, and it was just in plain sight. I walked up to it, it was in position, and I played that one through a little bit over $1 a spin. Took me 61 spins to hit, and I ended up ahead $69. So plus $69 at that stop, and at least we're getting a small gain here. I'm tired of bleeding money, so we're going to move on to another casino. Already been on my way here for a little while. Going to be looking for some fuel before I get there, and then we'll hit that casino. And then I think it's getting late enough now that I won't be able to do anything after that one, but there is a possibility of another one. It's about 70 miles away. It would add about another 35 miles to my trip as well. So is it worth it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the 70 miles plus the 30 miles, so it adds a lot of time to my trip, but how bad do I want it? So we'll see how late it is when I get out of the next stop and figure out what to do next. So that's what's happening right now. Temperature is 39 degrees, and I'll be back to update you. Alright guys, I don't know if I'm going to get any sleep tonight because it is very early and the sky is starting to get light out. So I go into this place, and as soon as I walked in, the guy asked me for my ID. Now, this happens to be the same company as the only two places that I've ever had an issue. So I hand over my ID. I thought of it as an opportunity to learn. So I said, how come you guys ask for ID sometimes and sometimes not? He's like, well, whenever I'm here, which is usually at night, I always ask for ID, which is true. It's always like after 1 or 2 in the morning that I seem to get ID'd at this place, but I don't know if it's specifically this guy or not. I think they're supposed to do it at night. But I asked him the reason for it, because in the past people have said, oh, in case there's a problem or a fight or something like that. So I wanted to hear his take on it. And he said, oh, well, it's just to make sure that you're all right and that your ID isn't expired or anything, because, everything in here requires an ID. If you want a player's card or if you win a jackpot or something, I'm just making sure your ID is valid. I'm like, yeah, right. He goes, and we cross-reference it in case you self-excluded or something like that. I'm like, okay, thank you, see you later. I walk in and there was no problem, so no issue there. So I go start looking around, and I see a couple marginal plays. I don't play those. I see 2 ladies sitting at a machine playing, and it's in perfect range. Although it's not the greatest machine, it is positive EV. So I think, I'll come back around and I'll hit that machine in a little while. So looking at some other stuff, and then I go to this big machine that always has large plays on there. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but normally I do pretty well on it. And I come up on that machine and I find a play. I play. It takes me 2 spins. It hits for like $40 or $50. But there's a guy on the other machine. So I said, well, okay, I'll come back around. So I go into the back area and I see another one that's in range. One of the newer machines. And it's in range, but it could take a while. So it took me over 700 spins to hit it. And I ended with a small loss, like $144 overall by the time I finished that machine. So not too pleased at that point. I go play another machine, though the one that the ladies left, and one of the jackpots had been cleared and the other one was still valid. So I decided to go ahead and play it, but it was the higher one, and it was going to take a long time. So I sat back and relaxed and put my feet up and played that through. And with that one, it was at a really low bet amount, but it was going to take a while. So I played that one through, and actually by the time I played that one through, the other jackpot was in range, so I played that one as well. So by the time I finished all that up, I had lost like $200. Not 200, maybe, I don't remember honestly. Probably, if I was already down 144, I probably lost another 100 on that machine. So back to searching, and I go into the high limit area. I find something I want to play. I decide to go ahead and play that through. And by the time I played that, I had lost another $20, which is not bad, considering that high limit play was at $4 a spin. So now I'm like, well, it looks like that's going to be another loser. So what am I going to do? So before I had gone to that high limit, there are 4 new machines, and I checked 2 of them. They take a long time to go through, so I did check those, and the other 2 had people on them, so I couldn't do anything with those. But when I came back around, those 2 were well, one of the two was available. So I ended up playing that one, and I ended up checking that one, and there was a play, but the play was at $20 a spin. Okay, so are you really gonna play $20 a spin now after the day that you've had? Well, if it's positive, you're supposed to play it. So I sat down and played that. Actually, there were a couple other machines too, but I played that, and so I put in my voucher, which was like 450. At that point, I was down like 235 overall, and so I put in that voucher. I lost that in about 2 seconds, and I put in 300 more, made it an even 1,000. Lost that, put in 3 more, 2 more, 3 more, and I ended up putting in a total of, well, it put me in a position where I was involved for a total of 2,200. So I'm involved for 2,200. It finally hits, and at that point I had like $312 in the machine, and the payout was, I believe, $2,710. So overall, after everything was done, I ended the session actually ahead, which was hard to believe just minutes before that was going to happen, because I started worrying about how long is this going to take, and am I going to need to go back to the car to get more money and things like that. But I ended the session ahead, $822, so plus $822 there, and we're going to move on here. So right now I'm going to let you go and catch up on some stuff, and I'll be back in a minute to update you. All right, I'm back. So I never thought I was going to get back to even today. The way things were going, and I was down in my last place, and I was down, and I was playing $20 a spin, and I was involved for thousands of dollars. I really never thought I was going to be able to get that back and bring myself above water for the night, but it happened. So I'm glad it did happen, and I'm very tired, and the medicine that I took wore off like 8 hours ago, and I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling a little groggy, but turned out my daughter has the flu, and she's not supposed to go to school till at least Wednesday, so hopefully I didn't get that from her, but gonna head home now, and probably will not get, I might get an hour of sleep, and then we'll head off to work and try to make some money. Definitely am not going to another casino, because it's just going to be too much time, and I don't want to end up being late for work, or wearing the clothes that I'm wearing to go to work. So we're going to take our time, head home, and be safe, and I'll be back with you tomorrow. If you have any questions or comments, my email is mwusa21@gmail.com, mwusa21@gmail.com. See you next time.